Hey, how's it going, guys? Today's topic, I want to go over how can an individual leverage a 401k in-service withdrawal or 401k in-service rollover, and how can it benefit your situation? So this video is really meant for the individual that's just trying to make their retirement planning situation better. Maybe they're not really sure what their goals are, or they're nearing that retirement stage and they've heard about a 401k in-service rollover or 401k in-service withdrawal, and they're just trying to determine, is this going to help out my situation? Is this going to be a detriment to my situation? If I do this sort of move, how can I make sure that I'm being the most efficient and effective possible so that it's giving me some sort of benefit? It's not actually hurting me. It's actually going to accentuate what I see as my ideal retirement vision, what the different things that I want to do, but making sure that you're avoiding those mistakes. You're avoiding a crisis throughout retirement. So at any point in time, if you have questions or you'd like to speak with an advisor, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002, or you could click on the calendar link in the description of this video. Really, the purpose of this is just to try to provide a bunch of value for you guys. When calling in, we're going to try to help you out. And really, at the end of the day, if there's something that we can't help you out with, you're going to know that. We're going to basically be honest, transparent, and tell you, hey, listen, this might be a mathematical move that's really going to hurt you, and you should just stay on your current trajectory. So what are some of the different terms, or what are some of the different areas that are important to note regarding 401k in-service withdrawals or in-service rollovers? So probably the most important area, the most important questions that you should be asking yourself is, what is my current situation? And then what are my retirement goals? So while reviewing this video, I'll try to bring up a couple of different ideas and a couple of different either pain points or some positive points that individuals have really started gravitating towards to try to figure out what their retirement goal is. But if you have a very clear retirement vision, retirement goal, it makes all these different mechanisms and all these different strategies very effective, because then okay, mathematically, if I stay on this current situation, if I stay on this current trajectory, it's going to result in X. If I go and I make these slight tweaks, then it's going to result in Y, and that Y could be a better route or a better benefit to you accomplishing your goals. So to get started, what is a 401k in-service withdrawal? And this is typically meant for an individual that just hits age 59 and a half, and their employer is allowing them to take dollars out of their 401k account as they're still working for their employer. So usually an individual could only remove dollars from their 401k or do a rollover from their 401k when they stop working for that employer. So you have these old 401ks that are sitting there, and you basically take them and you could roll them over. Well, the in-service allows an individual to not have to stop working for that employer. So they're eligible to take these dollars, take a withdrawal and throw that into their checking savings account, which could be a big no-no, or take those dollars and roll it over into an IRA or customized IRAs, so that it could put you on a better path and really help complement your retirement trajectory. So one of the main kind of criteria is hitting the age 59 and a half. So you may have some individuals that are eligible for that in-service rollover, while other individuals with their 401k, the way that their 401k is set up, they may not be eligible for it. So they may still have to wait until they stop working for that employer, they hit their retirement stage, whatever that case might be. So this video is really meant for that individual that does have access to their 401k. They can go and roll over a portion or all of their current 401k dollars and putting them on a better path, putting them on a more customized path. And really it comes down to the two main options: rolling it over into an IRA or customized IRAs, or doing a withdrawal. And there's pros and cons to both of those. So, listen up close, make sure that you're understanding the pros and cons and seeing if, these may be something helpful for you or may be a large detriment for your situation. So what are some of the benefits of leveraging an in-service withdrawal or an in-service rollover? What are really the pros of this? And this could produce a higher income in retirement. You can produce higher growth on these monies. You could produce effective tax-free strategies, meaning taking dollars out of your 401k and doing Roth conversions and basically having monies go from a tax-deferred account into a tax-free related account with a Roth. And then also it could produce a higher death benefit to your beneficiaries, meaning if you're trying to create some sort of estate planning need and you have a specific segment of these dollars earmarked towards your beneficiaries, towards your loved ones, your kids, your grandkids, whatever that is, this allows you to go and take a specific portion of dollars and make sure that you're maximizing out, that death benefit. So I'm going to unravel each of these little bullet points, but just be mindful that yes, the pros of utilizing this is, to really could give you higher income, give you higher growth, give you better tax-free strategies or tax-free benefits in retirement, and provide a more consistent or an optimized death benefit, to your beneficiaries if that's something important to you. Now, some of the negatives to taking an in-service withdrawal is taking a full withdrawal and not rolling it over. So the way on how that works is a 401k is a pre-tax qualified retirement account. When you go and you take those monies out, and let's say you dump it into a checking account or a savings account directly from that 401k, you could get dinged with different penalties, or you could get dinged with different taxation on those dollars. So if somebody had $200,000 as an example in their 401k account, and they're like, okay, great, I'm eligible for this in-service withdrawal. I'm just going to go and take the money and throw it into my checking account. Well, what they didn't plan out for, they didn't incorporate, was that all those monies are now taxable. So you could be paying an additional as if you made an additional $200,000 of income because you took it out of that qualified account and you threw it into a non-qualified account, such as the checking or savings. So that could also result in further problems of throwing you to a higher tax bracket. So now you're paying even a higher percentage of income on those dollars that you pulled out, a higher percentage of income on just the money that you made for that year, and it could be a huge mess. So you want to be very calculated, you want to be very careful with the dollar amounts that you're taking as per the tax year. Also, a large detriment is not having a plan for why you're doing this. Yes, you may be eligible for an in-service withdrawal or an in-service rollover, but if you don't understand how to create these strategies properly, there's no purpose. You might be shooting yourself in the foot. You might be better off just keeping it to that 401k, because that's one of those accounts that are out of sight, out of mind. You're contributing to it. You're getting a rate of return based on the different market indexes that you chose, the different allocation strategies, and you just know that it's kind of set aside, and you could basically cross that bridge when you start hitting your retirement years, right when you ideally stop working. So, if you don't have a plan in place, or you don't have any aspirations to get a plan in place, maybe it doesn't make any sense to actually take out the withdrawal or take out or do some sort of rollover for this. And think of each goal like an individual lane. So really the trick with an effective retirement plan or retirement planning strategy is to optimize each lane. So that's where, like when I was talking about the pros, I was saying, do you want to have more income in your retirement? If that's something that's not important to you, well, then don't try to optimize that lane, because there's different ways on how you could optimize that lane. Do you want to grow your monies better than what they're sitting in right now with your 401k? And that's something that's not important to you, well, then you might not want to make that move. Do you want to be paying higher taxes throughout retirement, or do you want to have lower taxes in retirement? If that's not a thorn in your side and that's something that you're really not incentivizing, or you don't have an incentive to really make that situation better, well, then it doesn't make sense to do it. And then also, leaving money as an inheritance. If let's say you're single and you're just going to leave your money to a charity, or you don't really have aspirations, you want to make sure that you're using up all those dollars by the date of death, well then that's something that might not be effective, or might not be something that interests you. So the worst thing that you could possibly do is restrict those areas and not be basically leave your dollars in an area that is not going to make it better. It's going to either have higher fees, it's going to have less growth potential, it's going to have higher taxation. But by shooting yourself in the foot, I always use kind of that analogy, is it's doing just that. You're making your situation worse. So you only want to make this move. It's going to, significantly make your situation better. It's going to give you that peace of mind that, okay, I have a plan. I have some sort of trajectory in mind, and it's going to help me out because these are my goals. So what are some solutions to utilizing this in-service rollover? And really, you want to take the steps of figuring out where your expense number is, right now, monthly expense number, weekly expense number, annual expense number, and then what's projected to be by the time you hit your ideal retirement date. By understanding what your expenses are, it allows you to plan for a specific target. It allows you to say, okay, this is the area that I have to make sure my accounts or my income sources in retirement, when I stop working, they have to be greater than or equal to my expenses. If I'm able to have income greater than or equal to my expenses, I'm able to have a worry-free retirement. I'm able to have peace throughout retirement, confidence throughout retirement. So in doing so, by understanding what your expense numbers are, and you could do this through different budgeting sheets, you could do this by just looking at your bank statements and saying, okay, this is what I typically spend. Maybe my expenses are a little bit higher now than what they're going to be throughout retirement because I'm driving back and forth to work, or I'm kind of, my expenses are more out of sight, out of mind. I have to, because I've been working every week. On the weekends, I have to go out and party, or go to the movies, go out to nice restaurants, all that stuff. If that's what you still see as your ideal retirement date, then you could always basically match up what your expense number is right now to what your expense number is going to be projected in retirement. Maybe you're going to have a drop off in expenses in retirement. Maybe mortgage is going to get paid off. Some other debts are going to get paid off with different loans that you've had for many years. And now that's all coming to a head, and those are going to go away. So, each individual is going to be different when it comes to their expense number, but understanding that is really going to be the crux of understanding how to properly plan for retirement and how to utilize these in-service rollovers properly. And I'm going to go over some different examples of this as well on the next screen, but just be mindful of that expense number and really get very detailed in understanding that expense number and realize what your expense number is. If you need help, obviously you can reach out to us. The other thing is create a tax efficiency within your current accounts. So there's three main areas on how any sort of account could get taxed. It could either be taxed as a tax always account, it could be taxed as a tax later account or tax deferred account, and then it could be taxed as a tax never account or tax free related account. A tax always related account is going to be something like a savings account, a brokerage account, different things that you may pay tax on every year through the form of 1099. If like you sold a positional change and now that's going to result in a short-term capital gains, long-term capital gain, whatever that is, there may be some taxes. So anytime that you're receiving the gain, you're going to have to pay tax on what that gain is based on what that sort of asset is. There's ways on how you could shift monies from that taxable account into that tax never, that tax-free account. You could do that through contributions. You could do that through leveraging different assets, liquidating different assets, and placing into those types of buckets to grow your monies tax-free, be able to pull your monies out tax-free. Also, your tax-deferred account, that might sound great right now because anytime you're placing dollars into a 401k, you're making contributions into that sort of account, you're able to get a tax deduction off of those contributions. But what's happening is you're kicking that can down the road. What is your projection off of retirement? Off of what the taxes will be throughout your retirement years. Do you feel as if tax rates are going to be higher in the future, or do you think they're going to be lower in the future? If you feel as if tax rates are going to be higher due to the governmental deficit, due to all these different problems that we're seeing, then you should want to position dollars from that 401k, from those tax deferred accounts, into tax-free portions. When somebody still has about a good 2, 3, 5, 10 years out from retirement and they're eligible for those in-service withdrawals, those in-service rollovers, they could do conversions from those tax deferred accounts into those tax never buckets, those tax-free buckets, through those Roth accounts. There's a couple of other mechanisms that they could utilize as well. But, it's just, how can I be as most tax efficient as possible so that it's going to translate in me keeping the most amount of dollars in my pocket when I need it the most, when I'm no longer working and I'm turning on these spigots of giving me the cash flow? How do I make sure I'm netting every single dollar possible of that cash flow so that I don't have to take out more? Case in point is if somebody is, let's say, has $100,000 that they're trying to withdraw in retirement, but they have to pay 30% of it to taxes, they're only able to net $70,000, as opposed to the other individual that's taking $80,000 from a tax-free account. Regardless of if they're in a 30% tax bracket, they'd still be able to net that $80,000. That also translates to higher income when it comes from a Social Security perspective as well. So all these different things are basically webbed into each other. They're all related. So you want to make sure that you're doing the most efficient and effective moves. Close up any of those gaps between your income versus expenses. The most important thing with any sort of retirement plan or when you start hitting your retirement stage is making sure you have income in retirement. If you don't have income in retirement, then you do not have a retirement. So how can you make sure if you're looking at, hey, I have a pension income stream that's coming to me, I have Social Security income that's coming to me, but when I'm looking at my expenses, I don't feel comfortable because my expenses are still higher than those two. Well, how can you go and make sure that you're taking those proactive steps now because you're eligible for the in-service rollover taking those dollars, placing into customized IRAs that's going to give you a maximized lifetime income benefit by the time that you hit those retirement stages. Something that your 401k does not offer. They're not going to be effective or as effective as you being able to place those dollars into an IRA and having thousands of different opportunities, thousands of different strategies to choose, as opposed to only about 10 to 20 different strategies to choose by being handcuffed in that 401k. So typically it's wise when an individual does have access to an in-service rollover to utilize it. But once again, you don't want to do that basically have egg on your face. Do that, move, utilize that mechanism and really hurt you in that situation. You want to be very systematic. You want to be proactive and really understand the pros and cons between leveraging that. And when it comes down to accounts in general and leveraging IRA accounts, you want to make sure that your buckets are broken down into my income streams, which ones are going to give me higher income in retirement, which portions are going to give me a safety, meaning like an emergency related need, and then which portions are going to be meant for growth. And really the goal is to have the least amount of dollars in your income and in your emergency need as possible, as mathematically possible, so you have the most amount of dollars left over in that growth related stage. So you're able to maximize your leftover bucket, maximize those fund related monies. The income and the safety side, that's meant for your lifestyle. The growth related need, that's meant more for your fund. That's meant for your inflation hedge. That's meant for your your healthcare related needs. If I come into a long-term care scenario throughout retirement, I want to make sure that I could basically utilize something that's at least keeping pace with that healthcare and long-term care related inflation to make sure I could access it at that point in time. If not, maybe this is my extra trip fund. Whatever that case is, but just categorize different things and make sure you're utilizing a higher efficiency in those areas. So that it's not being a detriment. You're actually being beneficial to your situation. And I hope that makes sense because it's super, super important. So now what are some examples of utilizing this? So we'll just go through a situation where, let's say, somebody's age 60 and they're looking to retire at age 65. And so they still have these 5 years, but they're eligible for that in-service withdrawal or their in-service rollover. And they're trying to distinguish, saying, okay, well, what is my income going to be in retirement at that point B at that future date, that age 65, versus what are my expenses going to be at that point. So there's ways on how you could take a full rollover from the 401k, place it into an IRA, and then you could segment a portion of that IRA into a customized IRA that's meant for that income maximization play. So what happens is when somebody fast forwards to age 65, because of the move that they made at age 60, and they went into the most effective maximized income strategy, an individual fast forwards to that age 65, they're receiving income, let's call it Social Security income, they're receiving income from a pension, maybe they have rental properties, or they're receiving income from inheritance, whatever that is, but then there's a specific gap there. You're able to have that gap closed because of the mechanism, because of the type of accounts, the customized accounts of IRAs that you created to say, in 5 years, it's going to give me the highest amount of lifetime income cash flow at that point. Now, the trick with doing so is you want to use the smallest dollars and only as much as necessary so that now you have as much money left over in emergency needs and as much money left over in your growth-related need. Remember that the ultimate goal is to always have the most amount of leftover monies. That's going to give you the most amount of flexibility. It's going to give you the most amount of peace of mind, confidence throughout retirement. Another kind of point or another example would be tax-free monies in retirement and how that affects Social Security income. So if you're able to utilize your dollars from your pre-tax qualified 401k, and by creating effective Roth conversion strategies, and you're doing this in incremental steps, you want to be very, very careful when doing so. Doing it on your own, that could be a huge disaster. That could be a huge tax time bomb that blows up in your face. And this is where individuals typically call out for help. And we try to show them different strategies on it, or showing them, hey, this might not make sense because your tax situation may be fine when it hits that age 65 marker. But in the situations where it does make sense, they could go and splice out portions of dollars from their 401ks and converting every year for those next 5 years, next 7 years, next 10 years. So you could still be doing conversions even as you start collecting retirement income, in the process, but you want to be calculated with that move. And what happens is eventually, if you have all your money sitting in, or a large bulk of your dollars sitting in tax-free retirement accounts, such as Roth IRAs, you could also utilize it's a mechanism known as a 7702 plan or a cash value life insurance policy. You could utilize the cash value and pull out those monies in the form of tax-free loans. That sort of situation is definitely not for everybody, but it is still a mathematical move that somebody could utilize. But by having tax-free money in retirement, what happens is it does not get incorporated or does not get included in your provisional income calculator, meaning that you could have tax-free Social Security income come to you as well. Because if you're taking buckets and you're taking dollars from monies that could increase your provisional income, that's going to translate into a potential 85% of your Social Security income being taxed. So you want to avoid that at all costs. And you really want to look underneath the hood and say, what are some of the strategies? What are some of the buckets or some of the accounts that I could create to make sure that I'm taking the proactive steps now so that when I hit that ideal retirement date, everything's coming to me in a tax-free manner, and it's going to alleviate stress. It's going to have that better vision. It's going to make your retirement situation significantly better than just kind of sitting on the sidelines, scared to make any moves, and it ultimately blowing up in your face by the time that you're age 65, that time that you wanted to ideally retire. So you want to obviously avoid that double taxation hurt from Social Security income. And when I say double taxation, reason being is because Social Security income, you do not get a tax deduction off the monies you're placing into Social Security. And then when it comes out, if you're getting taxed on it, you're basically going to be receiving tax there. So you don't get a tax deduction. That's one form of taxation. And then if you're pulling your monies out and you're getting taxed up to 85% of that benefit up to your tax bracket, that's going to be another tax detriment. So that's known as double taxation. So how can you avoid that double taxation? Also, inflation hedge and a healthcare hedge. By making sure that you're positioning the pieces properly, and you're saying, okay, well, what's a large risk to me as I'm living throughout retirement? That's going to be healthcare. It's going to be long-term care. If I keep living and living, when I don't die, I live. When I live, I could become frail. So that's where there's a large impact with individuals thinking that Medicare is going to cover them for long-term care related expenses, and Medicare does not cover long-term care related expenses. They do not cover when a condition becomes chronic, such as arthritis, such as dementia, Alzheimer's. So you may need to come out of pocket, and that could drain your retirement accounts at that point. So by creating certain mechanisms and having those lanes in optimized areas for maximize income, maximize safety or emergency, maximize growth, that could help out your inflation hedge and your healthcare related hedge when it comes to retirement, and really eliminate that problem that individuals come into contact with. And then really optimize and structure your death benefit to your loved ones. And this is more tailored towards estate planning, but little things. If let's say somebody has $1 million that's sitting in their 401k account, and they've always earmarked, hey, I want to make sure that 200,000 of this is going to at least grow, because these are monies I'm never going to touch. These are monies I want to leave to my loved ones. Well, there's strategies that you could utilize of that example, the 200,000, that now you're able to accentuate and arbitrage that opportunity and turn that 200,000 to 500,000, 600, 800,000 of tax-free monies. So there's certain mechanisms that you could utilize, and certain accounts that you could utilize by you being eligible for that in-service withdrawal, that in-service rollover. So obviously there's a lot of different things I've thrown into this video, a lot of different, ideas, concepts. At any point in time, obviously look at that further. But if you have any questions and you would like, to speak with an advisor, either myself or one of my other advisors through my team, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. Feel free to schedule your appointment directly through our calendar link, which is set up in the description of this video, and we'll try to help you guys out, the best way possible. And also, at the end of the day, if the 401k withdrawal of the 401k in-service withdrawal, in-service rollover, if that's going to hurt your situation, we're going to let you know. Hey, listen, that's going to hurt your situation. Don't do it. If it's going to help your situation, we could obviously show you solutions. We love dealing with people's situations. We love seeing it. We love the problem solving behind it. But at the end of the day, if it's something that's going to hurt you, when in doubt, don't. If something's going to help you, obviously that's when you'd want to move forward with one of our recommendations. But I really hope that you found value in this video. At any point in time, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to our most updated videos and you can kind of see some of our other content and see if that resonates with you. But if not, I just want to thank you very much for watching this and for being a viewer, being a subscriber, and please leave a comment, leave a like, and we'll be sure to constantly put out more and more content every week. Thanks so much, guys.